they did the TOS was kind of wild. Is it kind of wild? I kind of skimmed through it. Okay, fuck it. I skimmed through it kind of quickly, and I kind of just looked at the FAQ section and was like, that's probably the most important part, right? Like, that's the only part that really matters. But because I am nice, and I think it would make for good content, as in just fun content, not necessarily good content. That has nothing to do with it. Let's pull out. There we go. Let's read through it together. Let's do the default reaction streamer content. Yay! Look at that, Tori, for once doing actual content that people tend to do. It's just wild to me that they finally changed it, but I feel like it's not covering people like me who don't really do sexually explicit things, but are definitely considered mature streams. Like I don't like under 18s under my stream, but I'm also not going to use those extreme labels to classify myself. Well, there's outside of like the sexual warning thing, there technically speaking, even though it's bad for growth, there is a content label you can put on your streams where it's like, hey, this stream is intended for mature viewers. Not necessarily one that is like, this is a sexual themed stream, but if I like scroll down, right? Where is it? Content classification, mature rated game, significant vulgarity or profanity. Like you can kind of do it like that, I suppose. Like it is a thing you can do. That I do remember. YouTube has it as well. I'm not that big a fan of it, personally, for a simple reason. Discoverability is already so ass as it is, so you might as well just kind of leave your stream as it is, right? Then again, that means you sometimes do have to deal with younglings coming in. And that's that, you know? Although, the one thing I have noticed, right, is that for I'm going to call them Gen Alpha, because I am in my technically now late 20s. So everyone below 20 to me, everyone in their teens is Gen Alpha to me, right? The one thing I do notice about Gen Alphas in chat that I find weird is that they openly acknowledge that they are Gen Alpha. That's weird to me. Like when I was younger, and I knew I was in a space where mainly the vibe was sort of adult. Even to an extent, Angry Video Game Nerd fitted that, right? Like where those videos were like, you know, very nostalgia critic ones. They were very much meant for like older teens and whatever the fuck. As a kid, I would watch those, have fun with watching those, but I would never like openly try and be like too open about like, yes, I am here and I am also young. It's like, wait, no, shut the fuck up. Like it was more of a like, oh, I know I'm not supposed to be here, but the content's very fun and I find it insightful and I find it fun to learn from and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm just gonna hang out, you know, whatever. Where I can't with these kids being like, I'm a kid. I'm like, then you're banned. Kind of, right? It's like don't, how to put it? Don't have that weird entitlement as a youngling. Like if you're younger, sure, fine, but try and blend in with the crowd. Like that, this makes sense to me, and it's just fine. I find it weird that there's a lot of them that don't do that. You know? Anyway, that is one thing. Now let's pull this thing up and read it. Yay! Yay! Reading. Updating our approach to sexual content and content classification labels. December 13th. Right, today. Author Angela Hannison. We have received consistent feedback from streamers that our current policies around sexual content are confusing, and that it can be difficult to know how their content will be interpreted based on these policies. We want streamers to feel confident they understand our rules, and viewers feel confidently they will get the experience they expect. To accomplish this, we are making 2 changes effective today: streamlining our policies regarding sexual content, and updating the criteria used for homepage recommendations. That was interesting, the second one. Bro, I can't even speak English properly at 12. Some Gen Alpha kids are being a little better in English than me. Lamau. True. I'm a minor, I deserve to be catered to. Wah. Oh my god. Wow. You guys are el funny. You guys are doing the el funny. And get rid of that. Get rid of the gaming screen. There we go. Going over TOS. Let's call the Twitch stream that for now. And yeah, the YouTube stream will just have to be what the YouTube stream is, which is just gonna be funny. It's like, I thought it was a Legacy of Kain game. It's like, no, now it's Twitch TOS. Surprise, bitch. Cap for real on God. Millennials purity stuff is really weird. Like how I had a girlfriend who was 20 years older than me when I was 17. The reaction to some people, they act like 17 is an adult. Well, Sabercat in Twitch chat, if you're 17 and they're like 20 years older, it's not that it's just weird. If anything, you know what? Let's remove the whole, oh, is it legal or not part, and let's go with, is it weird or not? Are the vibes off? If the vibes are off, the vibes are off. Then probably the vibes were off, and therefore the vibes were off. I think that's simpler to discuss than, because pure legal stuff is easy to discuss. It's like it either is or it isn't. Boom, 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 boom. You know? Where's Anakin when you need him? True. I pick them out usually by the things they focus on, because some of them talk maturely, but I don't know. I can usually tell, and it's pretty easy to kick them after that. Fair enough, Ophi. True. Okay, let's go over this. Consistent feedback, blah, 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 blah. Streamlined sexual content policy. To be effective, policies need to be easy to understand. Yeah, you online platforms have been great with that, right? Okay, I'm not gonna heckle every fucking sentence they write down here. We're gonna be here all day. I could do that, however. That would be funny, I think. Dang it, wait, I fucked up the... I fucked up the outline again. It's cutting off things I don't want it to cut out. There we go. We'll have Twitch on one side, and that'll be good. I don't get why they openly tell strangers that they're underage. Like, even though I'm 18 plus, my age still keep a mystery. True. It's like online etiquette. Stay a mystery. It's what you want to be, you know? I can join them grandma age. Oh, no. To be effective, policies need to be easy to understand so the streamer knows what is allowed on the site and what is not allowed. Part of the confusion comes from the fact that there are currently two separate policies in the community guidelines that address sexual content. There is also an additional section in the content classifications guideline that describes when a streamer needs to label their content as including sexual themes. Going forward, sexually suggestive content and sexually explicit content policies will be consolidated into a single sexual content policy within the community guidelines. This policy specifies the types of sexual content that are prohibited on Twitch, and violating this policy will result in account enforcement. That's just plain English. When consolidating these two policies, we removed portions of the sexually suggestive content policy that closely resembled language in the content classifications guideline. These guidelines explaining what content needed a sexual themed label were not distinct enough from the language in the sexually suggestive content policy and made them difficult to follow. Basically, they're admitting, hey, our guidelines had a certain way had a certain language used to describe stuff, and they were basically the way people were trying to label themselves with, but the policy was different from that, and that's where confusion started. At least, you know, if you take their side for it, that's where the problems come up, right? Like, the guidelines were one thing, and people see them as guidelines. But then the policies were another thing, and that's where conflation and confusion happens. Okay, interesting. We launched content classification labels, CCL, back in June in recognition that some content is allowed on our service, some content that is allowed on our service may not be suitable for all audiences. We believe that accurate content labeling is key to helping viewers get the experience they expect. And now that we can enable appropriate labeling of sexual content using CCLs, we believe that some of the restrictions in our former policies are no longer required. In addition to providing clarity, these updates will also reduce the risk of inconsistent enforcement and bring our policy more in line with other social media services. The FAQs below provide a high-level summary of some of the changes. You can find the full policy language, including detailed examples of prohibited content, on the Safety Center. Interesting. Okay, so again, in June, they have introduced this new system. Since then, some stuff was outdated from the old system. So with that new system, they are basically backing up a little bit when it comes to the restrictiveness of some of their content and being like, okay, more stuff is allowed. This to me reads as, well, you know, we kind of had to enforce that stuff back in the day because otherwise online platforms and governments were on our ass about it. And now, because, well, we have these, we can show them that, hey, not all stuff is made for, not all stuff is going to be found by children. There are classifications. People can classify themselves and therefore keep it distinct, you know. Therefore, they're giving that freedom back to the creators, which is always great. I think. Okay. Let's continue. So far, it's like this is all just explanation. This is all just explanation, not really a changing. The only thing they're recognizing here, and that I do find interesting to say, is that essentially they're admitting to the fact that, okay, from now on, we know we had different guidelines, we had policies that we enforce and don't enforce, and we have guidelines that we want you to adhere by, right? Now we are just consolidating them all into one thing. Just know the one thing, abide by that, and it'll be fine, right? Again, you can't have, you could have, but they're not gonna because it would take too much time. You're not gonna have like total customization in the slightest or some other fan. I mean, I think I can hear your PC or some other white fan noise making me sleepy. That's probably the PlayStation actually making a noise in the distance. Let me quickly, because I can, turn it off. Fuck it, we're doing it together. Look at this. Oh. We saved the game, right? Let's double check. I'll cut this out of the video version. I'm actually, you know what? Well, I'll do. I'll cut this section of the video afterwards, the Twitch section, and I'll try and upload it as its own video. You know, just reading through the policies and giving my thoughts. Haha. There we go. Okay, turn off the system. Boom. There we go. Now it'll turn off in a bit, and then you'll only have the white noise of the room and my PC. Tori ambience. I think that's just this PS3 overheating at idle. Well, it was still running the game, so, you know, technically speaking. Most of the problem here is that it hasn't been enforced equally. Oh, that will always be a problem. That will, let's be honest, that will always be a problem online when it comes to distributor platforms, is that they'll always have people they'll give more preferential treatment to than others. Is it sad? Is it bad? Sure. Yes, sure. But we just recognize it and move on, because that discussion can't be had over and over and over and over again, you know? My point is we go back here. Yes. Anyway, so yeah. Content recommendations for the homepage. Okay, this one will be interesting because, you know, haha, me. We also recognize that not all members of the community want to see certain content, even if it is properly labeled with a content classification label. When an CCL is applied, viewers must provide explicit consent before they can start watching the stream. However, if labeled streams are shown on the Twitch homepage, viewers may still see content in stream thumbnails that makes them uncomfortable. We want to make sure the homepage, which is often the first page viewers land on, is more aligned with viewer expectations. To address this, we've updated the criteria used for our homepage recommendations. Streams that are labeled as including drugs, intoxication, or excessive tobacco use, violent and graphic depictions, gambling and or sexual themes will no longer be included in the homepage recommendation shelves due to the visual nature of those topics. Streams labeled as including mature rated games and profanity will not be affected by this update unless the streamer has also selected one of the labels bolded above. Viewers can still search for or go directly to channels they follow that are streaming labeled content via the left bar of the home page, but streams using these labels will not be surfaced in homepage recommendation shelves. Streams with these labels will be included in category page recommendations so viewers can navigate to the appropriate content for this appropriate category for this content. Making this change helps ensure that viewers will not see content they haven't consented to seeing. We will continue to explore adding more personalized viewer settings in the future. Okay, this is... I'm double on this, okay? And hear me out. And it's not because I'm essentially against it. I'm not against the idea here. I'm just kind of against the way it's being executed. In my opinion, in my explicit opinion, right? That's my disclaimer here. I think it should be like this. Your homepage has everything. Your homepage as a viewer has everything. You see all of it. except if you, oh, well, you know, you hide these things if the people don't have an account, right? If the people do have an account, when they make their account, you have one of the account pages be, okay, just as a preset / you can always update this later. What kind of things are you okay with? And then you can have a long page where it has all these different things, and by the end of it you can be like, not like do you have a problem with any of these topics? And you can just be like, scroll down, none of the above, boom, and continue going, right? If you want a non-customized channel, therefore not having anything restricted to you. But if you do want any of these things, you know, censored or not part of your viewing experience, it should be a page when you make your account that will be the page where you configure this shit. I don't find the idea smart of just having stuff like this be hidden and then having people who make accounts on the site just have this shit be hidden for them, and they have them having to go to an extra page to then update it so that they can see this stuff, right? Ask it when they make their account, and or if people already have an account, be like, hey, we updated our LLC things. Quickly make sure that you tag what you don't want to see or whatever the fuck, right? Something like that makes more sense to me in a weird way. And certain stuff like intoxication, excessive tobacco use or whatever, I get it that they would want to keep the front page for all audiences. So people that don't have explicit accounts with age verification, of course, to make that like more neutered. Like that makes sense to me. That's, you know, okay, fine, whatever, right? Wait, let me read some Twitch chat here. 24 ban, look what the fuck, she was literally reading the Reddit. Oh god. Dangers that Twitch might go down the age of verification systems will push more people to kick. Nah. I honestly don't see kick as a real threat yet, because kick has been nothing than people making a mockery of it, and the people on there, for the most part, it's all fine people probably, right? But you do have the headlines, and all the headlines on kick have all just been kick personality does a ruckus, kick personality takes a shit on a grandma and kicks a baby in live content. Like that is kick to me. That is what kick is. Not that is kick, but that is how kick comes off. Just because all the news articles that get made of it are always stuff that, you know, is a highlighter. And what's a highlight? What's more of a highlight than, you know, guy shits on baby. Again, that's not to say that's good or bad, or not necessarily. Again, as a kick creator, I stream for a little bit on kick myself, but I do recognize where it's like, yeah, kick is just kind of the Wild West, so it's essentially just Rumble, but with a better interface, right? Because it's just a Twitch interface. At this point, kick seems to me as kind of more, since they still use the Twitch API and stuff like that, right? It basically, kick just kind of functions as this weird. And this is gonna sound bad, but I don't mean it bad. It's like the garbage bin for Twitch streamers, right? People that get kicked off of Twitch go to kick. People that get kicked off the kick go to Rumble, I think. I don't fucking know. I don't know enough, you know. I don't know enough shit. It was a very funny John Zerka getting his ass kicked on a live stream. Well, yeah, but that is like the content, right? Like that is funny, sure, as like a meme thing or whatever online. But if that's like the only content you're known for, that doesn't contribute to a constructive environment, in my opinion. It all is just kind of teens and or adults that should know better purposely clickbaiting by means of going and doing extreme shit, right? Kinda. It's the TNA to WWE. Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it, actually. Anyway, we're going to continue here. So, back to this. Back to this. So my thing about like, you know, again, the idea of this is not bad. I do think that like the repercussion of implementing it the way they're supposedly wording it here will be, you know, people being like, oh, so my thing is automatically going to be suppressed because people have to consent to it in a obtuse manner. It's not the viewers having to consent to seeing the stuff that I have an issue with. I think that's perfectly fine and perfectly reasonable. It's the system implemented for it more than likely will make it, because people are lazy, right? And users are even lazier. That's like one of the main rules when it comes to interface design and stuff like that, right? But like I think it will make it that the moment these kind of themes are included, that they will more likely than not be suppressed for no real good reason other than that Twitch didn't make it so that when a viewer makes an account, they give them a page being like, hey, are you okay with seeing all this shit? You know, that makes sense? Okay, continuing. Share your feedback. That's what I'm doing now. We want you to feel confident that you know what is expected of you, and we believe these changes will help you make informed decisions about your content. We appreciate your feedback on this topic, and we're always keeping an eye out for additional feedback via user voice. I'll click on that in a bit, I suppose. FAQ. What is changing with this new update? Well, didn't they just say? Okay. A. Some types of content that were prohibited will now be allowed on Twitch, if appropriately labeled. These changes include previously prohibited but now allowed with label, content that deliberately highlights breasts, buttocks, or pelvic region, even when fully clothed. Wouldn't it be the other way around? So naked is allowed? It's a weird way of phrasing it, but okay. Streamers found it difficult to determine what was prohibited and what was allowed, and often evaluating whether or not a stream violated this portion of the policy was subjective. In addition, the former sexually suggestive content policy was out of line with industry standards and resulted in female-presenting streamers being disproportionately penalized. That is true. That is just true. That is just true. Dude can be, you know, but that's fine, right? But like, think about it. Like, dude can be without a t-shirt on in a room, perfectly fine. Female does something similar, wearing just a bra. It's sexually suggestive content. Which, you know, not saying it's not, but like at the same time, disproportionately, who does that target? Don't have to be smart to realize that. You just have to, you know, think it through a bit. So it makes sense. Okay, but that then still that just now means that possibly sexually suggestive content that penalized female streamers kind of still penalizes streamers, just by way of them having to now put a label on them that might hide them from the main page. Am I reading that correctly, or am I just a little bit an idiot here? Pelvic region is my favorite Pokemon zone. Oh no. Well, there's a lot of people who got banned but are big, like Mr. Mooten in Destiny. I think Twitch does lean too left, and I'm English left wing. It's like the tolerance thing. You can be so tolerantly let intolerance be the norm. Well, I don't see how this is necessarily intolerant. And I think with Destiny and stuff like that, it gets more into politics stuff, which has to do then with like what kind of things are expressed on stream and stuff like that. And Twitch still having a content having guidelines for that kind of stuff, right? In terms of service. There is a difference, and that is something that, as a European streamer, I can speak a little bit more of a perspective on it, as being a mix on that kind of stuff. Being that there's a lot of Americans out there, and this is going to be, again, oh my god, 2023, we're being a political streamer all of a sudden. I have neuter takes, don't worry. That is something like this, is that a lot of people will conflate me being allowed to say everything I want online with, yes, that is what freedom of speech means. And it's like, yeah, you can say everything you want, but there are consequences, and those consequences are determined by either law, actual law, or terms of service, the law of the platform themselves. And that is what the platform makers will determine what they're comfortable having on their platform or not, you know? And that's why Kick is the way it is. There you go. That's not too extreme, right? I think. Yeah. I can be as extreme I want. It's my stream, motherfuckers. You're in for my ride. I mean, most of the Twitch mod staff are Californians. As a Californian, that's a problem. God damn it. Ah. Yep, no, that's pretty much accurate. Like, sure, you can do it, but... Okay, wait, let's continue. So previously prohibited, but now allowed with label, fictionalized, drawn, animated, or sculpted, fully exposed female-presenting breasts and or genitals or buttocks regardless of gender. There is a striving artist community on Twitch, and this policy was overtly punitive and did not reflect the impact of the content. That is incredibly interesting. Because that would essentially mean that the anatomy streams can be back. appreciating, learning from, and drawing anatomy. But here, it doesn't, what I do like about the way they worded it here, by the way, is that the way they say it here, it doesn't necessarily mean that the content has to be in, like it's there to help the thriving artist community, but it's not there only if you are a thriving artist, right? Like if you have fictionalized, fully drawn, animated, or sculpted, exposed titties, as a lot of VTubers do, that shit is allowed, which makes sense because at this point I do feel like a huge part of Twitch, not a huge part of Twitch, it's still, again, VTubing is still a niche, right? But from the VTubers that are out there, a lot of them are women and a lot of them have very, you know, extravagant designs and outfits and stuff like that to make them interesting. And sometimes some cleavage comes with that. So for them to update their policies to be a little bit more in line with that, I think is smart and is pretty cool. Yeah, it's just pretty cool. California needs more donuts. Oh no, god damn it. Yeah, that's that. Previously prohibited, but now allowed with label. Body writings on female presenting breasts and or buttocks regardless of okay. The Twitch attire policy already allows body art on breasts and buttocks, so this change makes these policies consistent. Wait, isn't that this thing that a lot of those sex streams do, where like you can get like a message written and then they take like a Sharpie and then write it on their things? Huh. Interesting. Interesting. I guess you could just have it. Less fentanyl, more donuts. No. YouTube chat, no. Previously prohibited, but now allowed with I'm reading, by the way, the reason why I keep reading the previously prohibited, but now allowed with label is because you'll read it once and then forget about it, but actually that section is part of all of these individual properties, right? Like, it's like, yes, that wasn't allowed before, and it's like, oh, and then you read all of them, it's like, oh, now all this stuff is allowed, but it's like, no, it's now allowed with label. So that is important. Gotta keep that in the back of my head, right? Previously prohibited, but now allowed with label. Erotic dances that involve disrobing or disrobing gestures, such as strip teases. That is weird? Like, oh, that's wild. That's a little wild. If anything, I think it's good. I think this is a net positive, because that means I can play Cyberpunk without having to worry about anything, right? However, that means everything's just kind of, they're allowed, which is cool, which gives them a platform as well on Twitch, which is interesting. With label, of course, don't forget, all has to come with the label. But even with the label, having that stuff on the platform, that's pretty cool. I think that's neat, you know? It is wild, though. I hope they then find a way, though, because just chatting is already as overcrowded as it is. Like, wait, dancing I think is its own category, right? Maybe they should just make NPC streams their own, like, content label. Make them their own category on whatever, you know? If that makes sense. Changes to popular dances. Popular dances, that's an interesting way of phrasing them. Popular dances such as twerking, grinding, and pole dancing are now allowed without a label. Oh, so so strip teases, yes. Pole dancing, also yes, but like, okay. Popular dances such as twerking, grinding, and pole dancing are now allowed without a label. Previously, some dances were prohibited and others were allowed with a label. Enforcing on dances regardless of context meant our policy prohibited twerking at a wedding for taking a pole dancing exercise class, for example. The policy now takes context into consideration and only prohibits streaming inside of an adult entertainment establishment. Okay. Again, good, sure. More stuff allowed. Just more stuff allowed. That's freedom, right? Freedom, baby. That's the sound of an eagle that screeches by whilst it readies its machine guns. America. This seems fine. This seems cool. This seems new shit. If it's true, it's the context that matters a lot of the times. Yeah, but here, okay, they say it now takes context into consideration, right? But that's only after the appeal section in Twitch, let's be honest. Like, platforms don't tend to, how do you put it? platforms don't tend to really like platforms. A lot of those automated bots don't take context into consideration. It's manual review that can take context into consideration. But even then, you have to remind yourself that whoever is moderating the content might have their own internal biases to take into consideration, right? Yeah. Like even if they try and take context into consideration, there is still a subjective assessment that can be made there, and that could still end up in the downside. What do we call it? In the negative for a Twitch streamer. I think that this will be my weird take on it, perhaps. But perhaps the idea of a moderator going into a Twitch stream and immediately just banning a user should be not done that way. Like a stream being taken down and them issued a warning immediately. Sure, I think that might be a better way to deal with it. You know, that you can force people offline. I think that would be a stronger. I think that would send a stronger image and would be a better one than just banning people. That like it does the same thing, but then it would also like remove their account, right? Like that seems way more, especially since there's much more people making their livings online off of this shit. Just being able to take away their full platform for it without any warning, I think is very risky and very dubious, if that makes sense. If you taught your pole to dance, I'm happy for you. Although, hey, pole dancing exercises, apparently it takes a lot of core strength. I knew someone back in college who did pole dancing lessons and stuff like that, and then she talked about it all the time, where it's like, yeah, bro, like the core strength you gain from that because of the way you have to lift yourself up, that shit's insane. And I thought like, shit, fair enough. I could before my spine decided to do what gamers call the funny. If your spine and your back is doing weird, put your screens higher. That actually works for me. Like my pain is basically all gone. It's a little bit back now because I kind of crunched accidentally, but that goes to show crunching bad. Drinky drink. I really think one of the bigger mistakes was the ban on OnlyFans and profiles, because it wasn't that big an issue anyway. Half. I can kind of expect why. It would be like, let's make a comparison. It would be like as if a Twitch streamer would link to their Pornhub account, right? Like there is a certain level of an account that you wouldn't want linked in people to their descriptions. I can understand why that, for like a TOS thing, would be something they wouldn't want. And therefore OnlyFans, which is mainly associated with the very explicit content like that they wouldn't want that. Banning them again, I think, is the issue again. It's like, why ban? Issue a warning. Issue a warning before you start banning people. I think the ban trigger gets used a bit too quickly on a lot of platforms, and that is also possibly one of the things that puts everyone on edge. Because everyone's like, okay, I want to do a thing, but am I going to immediately be kicked off for it? And therefore maybe lose the reputable thing I've done over time. Over time, making it so that a lot of bigger established people don't tend to experiment anymore. And that's a little sad, you know? At least it would be interesting if you are a bigger like person in the space or whatever, that if you have a personal contact with Twitch, you can at least let them know, hey, I'm planning on doing this. Should this be okay? And if this is okay, even if people are there to moderate it, can they maybe be a little bit more lenient, not immediately take down my account? But if the worst push comes to shove, they just take down the stream and privatize it, so we can overlook it. We can look it over afterwards and see where like a mistake was made. Something like that, you know? I don't fucking whatever. Continuing. Question: with the updates to the sexual content policy, are artistic depictions of nudity allowed? A. Content with a focus on fictionalized, drawn, animated, or sculpted sexual body parts regardless of gender, such as doing nude figure drawings, are allowed with a sexual themed label. However, fictionalized sexual acts or masturbation remain prohibited. Yeah, that makes sense. Fair enough. So we can draw titties, we can have titties, but we can't rub them on dicks. There we go. Fair enough, right? That's TOS. That's clear, fairly clear language. Of course, again, how that gets enforced will be another thing, but let's leave that besides. Let's not focus on that too much for now, right? Is body painting on the breasts and buttocks allowed on Twitch? As long as attire requirements, whatever that is, well, that links to another page where you can read it, which I'm not going to do. As long as attire requirements are met, body painting on the breasts and buttocks is allowed with the sexual themed label. Yeah, easy. How does Twitch handle nudity in gaming? That's a big one for us here on this channel. We handle nudity in games in 2 ways. First, games featuring nudity, pornography, sex, or sexual violence as a core focus or feature are entirely prohibited. Makes sense. Hentai banger, babe buster, fucking orc fucks you 69, the game, not allowed on Twitch. Sex scene in Cyberpunk? Let's see. Custom gameplay or visual modifications that include nudity or sex content, including uncensored patches, in otherwise allowed games are prohibited. Learn more about prohibited games. So, playing Resident Evil with Mr. X Big Schlong coming to get you in the hallway, no. Which, again, fair, right? Second, for games where nudity is not the core focus or feature, the mature rated games content classification label is sufficient for incidental nudity. However, the sexual themes label must be applied to gameplay that focuses on nudity. Learn more about the mature rated games content classification label. So that one applies to Cyberpunk, you know? Okay. If it's not the core focus, fine, whatever. Oh, here we have the last paragraph to fuck me in the ass. Users may not engage in simulated sexual activity or erotic roleplay with other players in online games. Games that are primarily consist of user-generated content, in-game roleplay, or interactions in virtual reality are not exempt from this policy. Okay! Wait a minute, so if there is a... Well, actually, there might be another thing down below that talks about it. However, so if a sexual activity or whatever gets... Or roleplay, think Baldur's Gate, happens within a game, happens on stream, is not the focus of the stream, but is something that happens within the game, that is... If you qualify it with the fucking label, it's fine. Which, you know, cool. Yay! Yeah. That you have to turn the label on and off. I don't know about that, but like, fine, okay, cool. Just don't fuck people online. Except when it's teabagging, but that's not a sexual activity. That's about dominance. That's different. Okay, question. If the mature rated game that I am playing includes violence, alcohol, gambling, or sexual themes, does that mean I also need to apply the relevant content classification labels, in addition to the mature rated game label? The mature rated game label covers most content that occurs within the game itself, if the content is encountered as part of the regular gameplay, however, as encountered as a regular gameplay. However, if a streamer chooses to focus their stream on in-game content that features sexual themes, such as fictional nudity, or overlays in their game with comments or topics that qualify for any content classification label, they should apply all relevant labels. In-game content that features simulated sexual activity between players is still prohibited. Okay, so there. Yeah, see, that makes it so like if the game happens to have sex scene in it, like Cyberpunk, and I don't see it coming, and it happens, and I don't have to, you know, fucking worry about it too hard, because, you know, the game label will probably cover that that's something that could happen within the game, right? If I then choose, if I were to make a stream where, again, Cyberpunk is the easiest example, if I were to make a stream where it's like, all the focus is doing all the hooker scenes, because yes, there are hooker scenes in Cyberpunk, by the way, but like if the stream would be all hooker scenes, then that would be not allowed, because that's like not what you're supposed to do. And or at least I would have to apply the relevant label. Easy. Okay, fair enough. Oh no, no breeders on the Nephilim speedrun streams. So if I play God of War 1 and Kratos is a sex scene, I don't have to worry about it because it's part of the game. It's fine. Shut up. Damn it. But I like making the funny joke that I'm trying to run around Twitch moderation. Boo. At least this time I could just make it a joke and not an actual thing. Nice. Will streams labeled with CCLs no longer be recommended in the left bar of the home page under recommended channels? This update will not prevent streams from being recommended in the left bar of the home page, as stream thumbnails are not shown in that section. Okay. Will labeling one of my streams with a CCL also impact the visibility of future streams? No, past streams do not impact the visibility of future streams. When your stream does not include one of the CCLs, listed above, it will again be eligible to be shown on the homepage recommendation shelves. Yeah. Sure. We all believe that one. No idea. You know, might be. They'll never admit to it, basically, right? But like, because if your channel builds up a reputation of only being sexually suggestive content, and all of a sudden you're not, wouldn't it make sense that that stuff just kind of does carry over in a weird way? Maybe not. Maybe. Let's take their word for it. Let's take their word for it. Prostitute percentage speedrun's okay though. Oh god damn it. A tool for further purging the pestilence of Gen Alpha. It is welcome. What happens if I do not use a content classification label? Our sexual themes content classification guidelines describe what content needs to be labeled using the sexual themes label. Failure to use a content classification label accurately will result in the warnings, and the correct CCL will be applied by Twitch to the stream. If you fail to apply this CCL repeatedly, the CCL will be temporarily locked onto the stream, but it will not result in a suspension. Oh, okay, cool. So if I'm too dumb because I don't look at stupid systems and I just want to play my video games, if I play my video games and it's part of the thing, and if when I select my game it didn't automatically already assign it, then Twitch will assign it. That makes sense. And if you're a bigger channel, you might get a warning for it. Fine. And it will be temporarily locked into the stream, not necessarily the account. That is also kind of cool. Which means that if you then do another stream, you know, you get a new chance to try again. Of course, if you then repeatedly keep just restarting streams to get rid of like the LLC labeling, the CCL labeling, I can imagine that that's maybe where you might start getting into like a warning from actual Twitch staff or whatever. But at that point, you know, you're looking for it. Actually looking for it. At that point, you're actively trying to like circumvent the systems of Twitch and stuff like that. So, you know, fine. Interesting. Okay, so that in a nutshell is the little shieldy icon. All the different changes. Cool. Just cool. Thoughts? Should have been done way earlier. Better late than never, but it's the type of update I find that is weird that they've waited so long with doing this kind of stuff. But you know what? Fine. And it's still not a perfect solution, really. My immediate concern, right? Like if I'm gonna bring out an immediate concern, would be something like the language used still could mean that to an extent a lot of, let's be honest, female streamers could still be disadvantaged by this, because depending on the way they present themselves, which is still a little bit dubious, although that might be within that entire guideline, which I'm just going to open right now, still feels a little like, how to put it, attire policy. Okay, they have a whole full thing. To an extent, like it's like, is it just pretty girl equals sexual theming, yes or no? And or does Twitch recognize that as such? I don't know. That, you know, maybe not, who knows. However, this Tyrannid breeding hound. Every time you play Tyrannids in Dark Souls 2 and they grow their army bigger and bigger, that technically counts. Imagine, goddamn. So, Duman plus tweak TOS update. I'm just updating the title of my stream, so I just have that there, and I can remember like I have to go there to take that clip out of the thing. Yeah, no, interesting update. Kind of wild for a lot of people in the way that I think a lot of streamers now can finally do content at least a little bit more confidently. You know, I think they can go forward fearing a little bit less the wrath of the Twitch TOS and it coming after them. Which, you know what, in the end of the day, means more content creators get to make stuff online, which means that's more content, which means that's better. That's just plain better. That's how to put it. That's just simply better and more. and I like better and more. Will definitely be interesting to see the shift in content that this will bring, though. And I feel a partial reason for this content update, right, is the it's gonna sound weird, right? But them doing this to me does show that to an extent they must at least somewhat fear the negligent way that TikTok introduces their TOS and stuff like that. Because technically speaking, TikTok also has a TOS that ought to, you know, prevent a lot of these things. But do they enforce it? A bit, you know. So I guess what they're trying to do is at least make it so that a lot more ASMR type tingling streamers might start dual streaming on both platforms instead of just staying to TikTok. I feel like that's like the most applicable, like, immediate repercussion and change in this. That and that a lot more people with more mature themes and or people from sex work backgrounds and stuff like that might feel more comfortable trying to at least experiment with putting themselves on Twitch. Which, you know what? Good. Good. There you go. Once again, the most political stream I've done. Tori, the political VTuber. I might be getting back into content creation soon, so it's helpful. After 10 years, it might take a while. Do it, Arthur. Oh no. Oh no, do it. Yeah, no. Good, cool stuff. Cool stuff. But people have been complaining about this stuff for a week or so now, mainly because of the, what was it? Because of like the whole like, oh no, finally people can draw pee-pee on Twitch, and there was like, what was it? There was this backlash where there was a bunch of streamers essentially doing nothing on stream, but they were just like, you know, they weren't nude, but they kind of angled the camera in a way which it looked nude, and therefore it was like, oh, are they violating policy? No, yes, no, yes, and that like blew up in their face. Haha. So then now they finally changed their policy to make it so yes. If it has the appropriate label, sure, show your tits on screen. Like, no, don't show your tits on screen. Just, you know, it can be suggestive, that's fine. Bring back the Coomers. Which, you know what? Indeed. As we have established, sex sells, so they might as well, right? Yeah. Fine. Cool. Conclusion? Cool new update. Twitch still wanted to be in the game. YouTube's doing a lot of the things as well at the same time, so overall, who benefits from it? We do. Streamers do. People like me. It's pretty neat, you know? I'll benefit from it over time. I'll probably be banned like last time, Billy. No, god damn it. Nature is healing. Indeed, nature is healing. If anything, the one thing I find also interesting on YouTube that has changed is apparently they added the option to vertically stream. And then your stream will be added similar to how TikTok Live works within the live, when like when you're scrolling through shorts, you might now scroll through, have a live happen, and then you can click on that live and follow that, right? However, the one policy I would like them to add, YouTube, if you really want to get one leg over on TikTok, right? Since you have the infrastructure for it, make it so that not only vertical streams get promoted within the shorts tab, but actual regular streams do as well, within the same manner as TikTok does when it's a vertical stream. It flips it to fit in the vertical space and like blurs the background. That's what it does automatically on TikTok. Like if they can implement that, YouTube, then you're not just ahead of the game, but you're crushing your competition. Boom. See, we can end it on something that YouTube does better. Well, better. Better is subjective. More interestingly, possibly more interestingly if they do it right. Which you're not gonna, because they're YouTube, and they'll fuck it up somehow. But I'm used to that. That's how YouTube works, you know. Anyway, with that said, if you enjoyed me reading over TOS, giving my little thoughts here and there, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. It helps out the channel a ton. There you go. You see, that's for the edited version of this stream.